Using archive film is a great way into exploring aspects of narrative. What I'm looking for in this lesson is for the children to understand composition of shots and through that to explore setting and character, and then ultimately looking at the structure of a narrative. Rescued by Rover is a good film to use because it is a simple narrative with a very clear dilemma, and there's a good resolution at the end. So the structure of narrative is very, very clear for children to understand. I like to start lessons using film by starting with a sound and image activity so that you can actually gauge what the children's thoughts are before presenting them with the visuals for the film. To focus their thinking, I provide them with cards, and in this case it was setting time, setting place, characters and also story. I only allow them to listen to about 2 minutes maximum of the film, depending on the soundtrack. In this case, I stopped where the music came to a crescendo, so hopefully that they could then identify that crescendo with the climax of the story.
I think it was set in the Victorian times because you know how they have old instruments, possibly babies crawling or detectives trying to find something.
The next activity in the lesson is an inference and deduction activity where I show the children two of the contrasting characters, in this case the beggar woman and the master, and it's to get their ideas and their deductions of who they think these people are and how they may fit into the story and the narrative.
Old, naughty, mysterious.
I think she looks quite poor. She looks like a fortune teller.
She's robbing the baby of the lady.
Archive film is good to develop their inference and deduction skills because the historical films are not an experience that the children have. So they have to rely on their cross-curricular learning, and in this case it's the links with the Victorian topic in Year 5. So I'm going to introduce you now to a new term, and this term is called mise en scène. Can you say that for me? Mise en scène. We look at the composition of the shots, we look at the lighting, we look at the shot type, we look at costume and props, and we use that as the basis for exploring setting. Everything that you see in this shot is placed for a particular reason. Tell me what you can see and what that tells us about the characters that belong to each of these settings.
In the Victorian times, the detached houses were always owned by rich people, and the poor houses, all of the bricks are coming off and it's all like boring and stuff inside.
Right, you've worked so hard. Do you want to watch the film now and see how correct you were? Brilliant. I leave the film until after a few activities have been completed because I want to build the sense of anticipation. It makes them active viewers, so by the time they actually see the film they're so excited, they want to know if their predictions and their inference and deductions were accurate. The build-up activities lead themselves nicely into some shared writing where we can then develop the actual structure of narrative. What's the main problem in this story?
The baby gets stolen.
The baby gets stolen by the beggar woman. Fantastic. And then they have to find the baby. The dilemma is quite obvious in this film, and I pre-write the dilemma and then use that as the springboard to go back and actually write the beginning shared writing with the children, get their ideas, get their input, and then the children will continue that by writing the resolution. What's happening in that picture?
The baby and the dog are playing.
The tasks are differentiated. One group makes a wanted poster for the villain, and having done all the vocab development in the whole class teaching, that supports their learning. Another group has a task where they write captions using story maps. They write captions to explore the narrative. Another group will write the extension of the narrative, and a final group write the story from the villain's point of view, from the beggar woman's point of view. I think it's important to end all lessons on a high, and I end lessons with film using hot seating. Children like performing, they like to become the characters. I use the beggar woman and I use the master, so I finish with exactly what we started with, contrasting the two characters.
How can you speak to a dog?
I know what he was saying because he jumped up on me, so I knew something was wrong.
Let's give the master.